friends, and welcome to Get Comfy with Laura, the podcast where we dive into getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. I'm your host, Laura Cardona, the Buena Vida life coach, emotional wizard, personal cheerleader, healing homie, breakthrough queen, and your support in shaping a Buena Vida. If you're ready for more than just listening, I've got all kinds of juicy goodies over at my website, buenavida.life, or come say hi on all the socials at Buena Vida Life Coach. Quick note for new listeners, because your time matters, I've trimmed the long hellos and intros so we can jump straight into the good stuff. Of course, all of our guest info, bio, links are in the show notes at the end of the episode and all over social media, so you won't miss a thing. All right, y'all, let's go get comfy with the uncomfy.
Get comfy with the uncomfy. Don't hide it. I feel it. El camino es crecer. I rise again. Get comfy with the uncomfy. That's where I find me.
So there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot going on in our country. There's a lot going on in our state, in our cities, on our block, in our homes, in our brain. So much. What do you do with that? Where do you go with the feeling of, I want to do something. I want to help. I have an idea. I want to create an impact. I want to support. I want to show up. Where do you start? How do you start getting comfortable with that? How do you start getting comfortable with the idea of stepping into something that is far greater and bigger than you? So today, we're going to talk to Karina Melgar. She is the founder of Leaps, a supportive space for the neurodivergent community. I'm really excited about this, y'all. So let's get into it. For those who don't know what neurodivergent, right? We're starting to hear that more and more, but what is neurodivergent? Divergence.
Yeah, basically it's an individual that operates just a little bit different, right? So in our brain, the way that we function is a little different. And within neurodivergence, I mean, it can include an individual with autism. It can also be someone with ADHD. For the work that we do, we work with individuals with Down syndrome as well, and CP, cerebral palsy. And so that's probably the easiest way that I like to explain it. And even, when kids come up to us, we say, oh, we're the same, but just our brain works a little different, and that's okay.
Yeah. I remember hearing once, I think it was on TikTok, where they were saying, well, when you're neurospicy, and I'm like, ooh, I like that, right? It's just,
That's also, yeah.
right? I'm neurospicy. And I'm like, I dig that. I dig that. It's another way of saying that. The specific sort of so what is Leaps?
So Leaps is comprised of different programs and services that focus on helping those high school students transition into programs that were non-existent in the Valley. We get told you're only good enough for X, Y, and Z. And one of my many goals is to break that barrier. I want these young adults in the forefront, right? I want them to be doing, if they want to do any form of social media, like having a YouTube channel, if they want to be a teacher, why are we creating those limitations for them? How they're going to get there, who cares? But that's what we're there for. We're going to help them get there, right? Because it doesn't matter what their background is. It doesn't matter what disadvantage, they are currently facing. Who cares, right? And that's essentially what we're doing. We're removing all of those labels, and we are saying, yes, there are challenges. Yes, you are going to be uncomfortable, but guess what? You are still more than capable of getting these things, achieving these things that you want in your life.
What got you working into the specifically in the neurodivergent community?
Well, I originally wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. And so I was a very intense kid where my summers looked a little more like, well, let me see what volunteer work I can get into, right? Because I need to build a resume. I didn't know a resume back then, but I was like, I need to, have some experience of some sort. So yeah, being a kid, I would pick up gigs as maybe a babysitter. Let me get into the schools. This is what I'm gonna do. And I was working towards that. And then I found out how much school cost. So that was a little of a challenge that I had to overcome. I didn't have the funds to get through school. And so I ended up picking up 2 jobs and, continued to do my volunteer stuff. I would go and volunteer like at this kindergarten classroom. And I did that for probably 5 years straight. So I was like middle school, high school, and I would go every summer, go and volunteer. And that was like, this is my passion. This is what I want to do. And I ended up getting hired originally for an ESL assistant. So it was to work with and help the teacher run small groups. And so, you're teaching the fundamentals of learning English. And I loved it because if you think about it, there's a lot of correlation. I had such a great time. It was such a great community. I ended up getting laid off. They closed that position. And that's how I entered into this world of, okay, what is autism? Um, I had no idea what any of it was. I interviewed and I thought I had bombed the interview because I didn't know what autism was. I didn't know disabilities. I didn't know nothing. And they called me and they said, "Hey, you have the job." So my first official job within this field was as a behavior intervention aide at a school district. And that's where everything started, really.
Incredible. I saw you in the Palm Springs magazine. I read that and I was like, excuse me, what is
Oh,
that? And I read that, I was like, hello, okay. And I just thought it was amazing. Congratulations, by the way.
thank you.
And what I saw was just like, oh my God, like there's a brown woman talking about this and doing something about this. Because honestly, my heart sort of breaks having grown up in a culture where we saw people that were neurodivergent and no one talked about it. No
Mhm.
one says anything about it. There's calladito. They're fine. They're fine. They're fine. And then I didn't know it growing up, but it's like we're actually hurting them by doing that. We're hurting that because by not talking about it, by not addressing it, it's not like putting the spotlight on them, right? I don't even know what the question is. It's like, what has been your experience? Because what led you to get to the place of, I want to do something about this. I want to raise awareness around neurodivergence.
Well, it's funny because sometimes people ask me, "Do you have a loved one that is neurodivergent?" Or, how does it relate to you? And no, I don't have anyone that is neurodivergent. But on what you just touched on, just the cultural aspect of it, the discrimination that we grew up with, that were always very significant. And even as a child, how aware of that I became as I got older. There were many disadvantages that, whether it was myself personally or people around me, I got to see that. I saw what I called, a reality that I knew. I don't know how, at that time I would be able to change it, but that was the one thing that I did know, that this is not okay. There is a lot of discrimination taking place. I don't like it. And sometimes, as a child, I remember a frustration, a I don't know how to describe this level of frustration. Um, just helpless at some point, right? Because like, oh, I'm just a child. What can I do? But I would see a lot of that. And so I think that maybe a lot of, what I do now does stem from some of what I personally, got to see and firsthand.
Yeah. For those that, so I want to be delicate and not sort of do, the trauma porn, because I'm not into that. But there's the idea of
Me
like, I want people to sort of want them to say, oh, I have seen that, but I didn't even know that that was a thing. Right. So
either. Hmm.
those injustices that we had growing up, that's not okay. That
Yeah.
discrimination is not okay. What
Yeah.
did that look like?
The type of discrimination that I got to see were the lack of opportunities for my parents. And I mean, I can clearly remember all of these. So specifically, um, when there were letters in the mail that would come in, right? Why weren't these letters available to them in Spanish? Why did they have to go and jump through hoops just so that the information could be delivered to them? Um, I also remember even just in school when they would, get these notices or letters. Um, Again, well, what does it say? And I remember having to sit down with them and having to try to explain what these things, what the letters said. And, I would remember like, why do I have to do this? Why, these are adults. Why can't the adults, make this accessible to them?
Yeah. So much thinking back on how we were admin assists, we're secretaries, we're translators when we're kids. We
Yeah.
do a lot. We
Yeah.
we were CEOs at a very young age. we,
Yeah.
we ran the whole thing, ran everything. Yeah. And is that something that those injustices are like sort of what started the spark of the neurodivergent, or it was working in the neurodivergent community?
I would say it's a combination of both. Um, because even in the school settings, right? And trying to navigate and create the opportunities for myself, or not knowing how to get from point A to point B, right? So even college, for many, it can be such a great positive experience. I'm not saying mine wasn't, but boy, was it a learning curve. I was not ready. I was not prepared for what was coming my way. Um, Again, not knowing how much school would cost, whoa, that was a rude awakening. Um, so that was part of it, right? That was a whole learning curve, and realizing, hey, there are people around me that are not dealing with the same challenges. And so then you learn to just figure it out, right? Just figure it out, get there. Why? Because I mean, that's the way that I was brought up. Many of us, right? Let's figure it out. And I would see the differences and I was like, oh, like, so, they're just like, they have a choice. They can go to university and they can just stay at a dorm. I did not have that choice, right? I had to take the extra steps of like, wait, so let me figure out, okay, you have to pay for the tuition, you have to pay for the books. And then if you don't, like, yeah.
What I'm hearing is very similar to what I felt, which was it's not necessarily an anger, but just like, this isn't okay. Like, why
Right.
is this okay? This isn't okay. I remember going with my father to go buy a fridge at Sears, and the first white salesman came over and he was like, do you have a license? Like, what is that? And I remember my father, Jesus, like, let's just walk away. And I didn't understand. And later, I mean, I knew how you go to Sears and you pay for something with money.
Right.
But why was he asking for a license? And I remember just being like, man, these people. And that's just one of a million things
Hmm.
that we all experience: microaggressions, macroaggressions, super aggressions, right? Like it's not even
All,
microaggressions, all of the aggressions.
yeah.
What I'm getting at is there's this thing that sort of builds up with us, right? I
Hmm.
call it a fire. And then, because I'm saying it messy, but you saw something, you saw injustices, you saw a lot of that. You stepped into a world of neurodivergence. People who are ignored. We just talked about that. Like, our culture just ignores them. No one pays attention. There's no spaces for them. Just put them away. Just put them away. Just hide them. Put them away. Put them away. And you said, let me do something about that. And not everyone gets there. Not
Mhm.
everyone has that, or they might even get there, but they might not take the leap.
Right.
And so, no pun intended, you took the leap to build leaps. And so I want to get to that, where the article that I read on you was, you saw it was during COVID and you were like, I need to create something. So I want to talk about that, like how you got comfortable getting to a space of, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this leap. I have all of this inside of me. I want to do something.
I was never comfortable. Let's start there. I was never comfortable. This idea started probably 3 years before. But of course, there was always something, in that mind of mine that, well, maybe you're not ready. Maybe we have to wait for this. Maybe we have to wait. So 3 years before 2020, I was in a transition period. And I think, that fire of like, I need to do more. I want to do more. I don't know how to get there. And this is also, again, something that I've probably not shared with many. I remember this one interview, and I had included something in my resume. And as we were discussing, I brought that up. And it was a conversation of, well, it's going to be a lot of work, because I shared what I wanted to do. It's going to be a lot of work. It's still going to take, some years, based on what you're sharing. And so it would be a good opportunity to continue to gain more experience. And I think that's all that I needed. That stuck with me. That just, I never let that go. There were several things that were said during that interview that left me thinking, well, what makes her think that she knows me? She was putting all of these barriers. And as she was saying all these things out loud, and, I was like, I've already said those things, but I have found solutions for them in my head, right? And so then after that, there was no question about it. It was, okay, we're going to go for it. And I'm not comfortable. I'm not ready, but we're going to go for it. And that's how that started. So I got to thank that interview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I hear is, let me show you what I can do. Let me show
Yeah.
you what I can do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had those situations too, where they're like, oh, no, but you're from such and such. You come from such a disadvantaged background. And, oh, but how
Yeah.
could you? Or, whatever nonsense they'll say.
Yeah.
It's like, ugh, what? Do you know how educated, how smart I am? Like, get out of my face, right? And there is this real fire that
Mhm.
it is, you almost thank them, because
Mhm.
you say, thank you for reminding me what a bad bitch I am. You know what I mean? Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye. So I love that. I think that's such an honest answer. Like, someone kind of just was telling me that I couldn't do it. So I
Yeah.
did it. I think that's dope. That's awesome. It's just so beautiful. But it, I'm, when I think of neurodivergence, when I think of autism, Asperger's, high functioning Asperger's, there's a lot of labels, right, that fall under
Yep.
the neurodivergence.
Mhm.
I always tend to think, like, I don't understand why we've pushed those people to the side. They're amazing. The way that they speak, it's honest. It's right there in your face. I love it. They're hysterical. They're brilliant. What I have found is that some are socially awkward. That's it.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people who are, it's not neurodivergent, neurotypical, right? That's the sort of
Mhm.
the other ways, neurotypical,
Yeah.
who are even more socially awkward. So, like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's just another form of society to oust people out. Why do
Well,
you think that has occurred? Like, why do you think our culture did that? What, not our culture. Why do you just think culture in general did that?
I have thought about this. Um, and I've reached a conclusion that part of it is fear-based, right? We're not sure how to respond. It's not something, and when I say we, I'm talking about the community when we are in the community, right? And that those people are, and we get stared at. So it's like, right? They're confused, they're trying to understand, but you can tell, they can't help but pass judgment, right? Because sometimes we might be a little too loud. And so that makes them uncomfortable. Or sometimes, we might do something that, again, makes another person kind of flinch because they got a little too close. Or, so different things like that happen in the community. And so again, my part of my conclusion that I've reached is it's a lack of knowledge and fear.
And you're doing something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so awesome. So what is the impact of leaps? What have you seen in the work since 2020?
So a lot. Interestingly enough, so post pandemic, well, during the lockdown, what took place was just trying to help them continue the socialization. And we did that through Zoom. So we held classes Monday through Saturday. And it encompassed different classes like music. There was a lot of the wellness stuff too. There was art. There was some life skills. So we incorporated a lot of that. Well, fast forward to when, okay, like now everyone can go back out. We were a big part of the reintegration with a lot of these young adults. And we helped and shape what that was going to look like for them. Because with that, I mean, change for all of us, right? I mean, we didn't know what to expect, let alone for them. Change is a really big part of their life that can be very hard. So we help to reintegrate many of these young adults back into the community. And we began to focus on what they wanted to do. What are some of those interests? And with that, we were able to help develop some of these small businesses for these young adults. We have some that started a shirt business. They have a jewelry business. So several little businesses, and they remain active and work on going to these events, local events, so that they can promote their products.
Incredible. This is somewhat delicate. I don't even know if it has to do with what we're talking about here, but it's the Coachella Valley. I moved out here from LA, and so but I'm from the East Coast, so I'm all over the place. And I found that it is such a unique place.
Yeah.
It is such a unique. I don't, it's. I forgive me. I'm struggling to sort of come up with the question because what let me just say it. What I'm feeling is
Yeah.
there is, to me, the culture is a brown place. I mean, it is full of brown people.
Yeah.
Yet what is represented is not the brown people that keep this valley running. It's not. It's the golf courses. It's the pickleball. It's when I go to, the La Quinta little area here with all the pickleball, there's no one of color there. There
Yeah.
is not one person of color there. When reading what you were doing, I'm telling you, I was like, yes, oh, this is what I've been looking, because I wanted to see that. I wanted to see the representation of
Yeah.
someone that looks like me doing something for people that aren't white. And I know we don't we don't want to get into all that, but it's like
Yeah.
people who are put to the sides, people who are ignored, and here you are doing it. So in a space that is kind of challenging. So I know
Mhm.
you said you don't get comfortable, you weren't comfortable doing
Yeah.
it, but there's something where, like, there's something inside of you that the podcast is getting comfortable. with uncomfortable, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not trying to lead you to what you were comfortable, but there was something that got you past the uncomfortableness. And that's sort of what I want the listener to hear,
Mhm.
because there's something there. That's the juice. That part where it's always like, I know I'm going to be hella uncomfortable. I know this is going to be so hard, but I have to do it.
Mhm.
And so, well, can you speak on that?
I think the big part a big part of that is that vision that I have in knowing that my job is more so asking the right questions to ensure that, oh, okay, this person wants to move in this direction. Um, and being able to see the bigger vision of, I know that this is possible. I know that we are able to get there. We as a community, so my team, the families that we work with, the other small businesses around the area specifically, right? And so knowing that all of these moving pieces that we can work together to get there. What gives me that confidence that that can happen is that these young adults continue to teach me each and every day, right? We are always looking to celebrate the things that they overcome. So they remind me that if they can do it, I can do it.
And that's it. That's a wrap on the whole episode. It's amazing. It's true. It's in whatever we face, whatever adversity we face, it can be done. If
Yeah.
we put our hearts into it, and I feel like it's such a boomer thing. If you work hard, but if you put some elbow grease into it, right? Like
Yeah.
just put some work into it and uh, just try it, right?
Yep.
Just like look at the impact that you've created. Switching gears, you've now, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you've become a public voice now for neurodivergence. So how did you get comfortable with that, or are you getting comfortable with that?
I don't wanna take any credit at all, just because I like to talk about, some of the big things that they work on, and they work extremely hard. So again, they are my constant motivation and reminder of everything that and we do it together, it's not just me. Everything that we do just uh, just all the progress that gets done, right? So like there's a lot of self-growth within me, but there's also so much self-growth within each individual. And I think that being able to move and grow together is such a beautiful thing, right? That's important to me.
Yeah, I feel that's community, right? Where you're both
Yeah.
growing together, you're learning from each other, you're falling, and you're lifting each other up. Like that's what it is. What advice would you give someone who wants to make a difference but just doesn't know how? Doesn't know anything, doesn't know where to start. At the top of the episode I talk about, how there's just a lot going on in the world. There's a
Yeah.
lot. There's a lot going on in our country, in our state, on our block, like, right? There's just a lot. And we sometimes have this feeling like, I want to do something. What advice would you give to a listener who's just like, oh, I want to start something. I just don't know where to start. What do I do?
Well, I think the first step is to start locally. When you start small, it's not as intimidating. Start locally. And if there is a specific person that you look up to and or you want to move in the direction of some form of mentorship, to not be afraid to reach out. And yes, it might be a little awkward or it might be a little intimidating, but you would be surprised how many people are willing and just wanting to help another person, provide some direction, some guidance. We might not have all the answers, and I always say, you know, I, I don't have all the answers, but I'm happy to share from my experiences and whatever people want to take from that. Then great.
Yeah. How would you want your work, let's say 5 years, 10 years from now? What's the shift that you would want? in the neurodivergent community?
Oh, I want to see all of these individuals working, having, I would say, having the jobs that they want, right? But seeing them in the community, in every part of the community, not just in this one space, right? I want to see all of them. I want to be able to go into a store and say, "Oh, wow, like I know X, Y, and Z." I want to be able to go into these events that take place. Even what's the film festival. I want to be able to go into the film festival as an event and say, "Oh my gosh, you helped and direct that movie?" Right? That's what I want to see. I want to see them fulfill their big dreams. And that's it.
I love that. And I always, what would I want to see for our future? I very intentionally only work with Latinas because I say that I want to be, I need to be the person that I needed
Mhm.
when I was coming up, because I didn't have anything or anyone like looking out for me or showing me anything. And so now I need to be that person for other people, because there's nothing else for me to do but that. And
Yeah.
when I think in the future, what I would want is for us to be in all the spaces. To me, I have a background in film, so for me, it's representation. So, I want us not just to have America Ferrera and, Jane the Virgin. And, I want that we don't have to name them in our hands. Just be like, there's so many, I don't even know. There's so many. That's what I would want. And very little bit I've seen of neurodivergent community. Like, I think there's an actor, and I can't think of his name right now. I just saw him as like a side character on a show, and I was like, he's there. How amazing, right? It was, and it wasn't even like he's the nerd, he's the autistic guy. It wasn't anything like that. He was just
Right.
hanging out playing racquetball or something with the guys, and I was like, that's it.
Yes, that's exactly it. That people don't have to look twice and again just have all of these preconceived notions of can they do it? And yeah, I think that's very big. Yeah,
Yeah. How can listeners become better allies and support the neurodivergent community?
I'll tell you. So, we do a lot of this just outreach in the community, right? And it goes back to if people don't know what neurodivergence is, that's okay. So not being so fearful and just giving us an opportunity to partner. That's all we want. We want opportunities for partnership. And we are happy to teach and show what the experience looks like because it'll be different from one um place to another. So, giving us the opportunity to form new partnerships, to give us the opportunity again to um, be in these positions that a lot of neurodivergent individuals haven't been before. Um, that's how.
Incredible. So how can people find you? How can they support? How can they show up?
Yeah. So we have Instagram, we have Facebook, and we have a website. Everything is at Leaps Services, and then the website leapservices.com. All of the information is there. There are newsletters that people can sign up for. Um, so yeah.
In everyday life,
hmm
what is something that they can do? Like, what's one thing that a listener could take away and be like, all right, well, I want to step up and do something.
Well, when you see us out in the community, giving us opportunities too, here's a really big thing. And I'm sharing this because it just happened, I wouldn't say last week. When you see us out in the community, and it takes us a little while to, for example, pay for something up at the register, or if we don't have enough money, don't be an enabler and don't say, oh, it's okay, you don't have enough money. Don't do that because we're constantly working on these skills. So maybe ask us how you can support us instead of just making just an assumption about our situation. That's how. And be curious. It's okay to be curious. It's okay to ask us questions. And I think that's the best way.
As simple as saying, how can I help?
Mhm.
And then backing off. That's it.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Karina. So it's just absolutely amazing, and I'm just in awe. And I thank you so much for everything that you do for the community. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you for
Thank you.
having me. It was
Thank
a
you.
great chat.
There you have it, folks. Community change starts when we show up, when we get uncomfortable, when we stop waiting to feel ready, and we do things anyway. We make the moves anyway. My hope is that today's conversation helps us move from talking about community to showing up for community. Each of us in our own way, finding our own path to build it, protect it, and fight for it. And let's honor and lift up Karina's beautiful work, showing us that neurodivergent individuals don't need to be fixed or tucked away or hidden or underestimated. They need opportunity, they need representation, they need people who believe in their big dreams. And if her story shows us anything, it's this: one person deciding to act can create real impact. So let's show up, even in one small way, y'all. One conversation, one act of support, one moment of curiosity. That's how community changes. That's how impact happens. Let's get comfortable with showing up for our communities. We need it. All right, y'all. Till next time. Bye.
Get comfy with the uncomfy. That's where the magic begins.
Thank you for tuning in and spending some time with me today. And we all know the podcast spiel. If you liked what you heard, please make sure to subscribe, follow, rate, drop a little love in the reviews. It really does help, and it helps spread the word. And hey, if you know someone who needs this, any of this, in their ears right now, please share the episode with them. And if you're ready for more than just listening, ready to shift, to stretch, to step into your own buena vida, then let's do this, yeah? From one-to-one personalized coaching to group coaching, fun workshops, and all kinds of other little goodies, all the info is waiting for you over at my website, www.buenavida.life, or connect with me on the gram at Buena Vida Life Coach.
I'm getting comfy in the uncomfy, dancing with the night until it holds me. Breath by breath, I let it flow. Even in the dark, my light will show.
You made it to the end, and here is the very last message. You can hold the hard. You can hold the discomfort. You can hold all that and still reach for joy and still reach for good. You can be scared and still keep going. You can get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And when you don't feel like you can, come find me. Until next time, friends, keep going, keep growing, show the world who you are, and never, ever stop betting on you. Thank you for listening to Get Comfy with Laura. This episode is brought to you by me, Laura Cardona. Producer, me. Researcher, me. Audio engineer, me. Editor, me. Social media, me. Expert, me. Giving myself credit where credit is due. For more, head over to buenavida.life. Bye!